feel that there's something right here underneath the surface, but I can't get it to come out yet. I went into this experience with the intention of uncovering whatever that thing was.
The medicine's always with you, it's in you.
It is there to show you. The goal is to surrender, but there's a tendency to control and fight.
Your body's always speaking to you. We ignore it.
What if you were actually perfect as you are? Be yourself.
And know that you're perfect as you are. In previous episodes, we have dropped many comments about our experiences with plant medicines, ayahuasca in particular, and how this is intersected with human design. So today we're going to do a deep dive into this and talk about our experiences. As my sixth line, I'm super excited to own this, talk about it, and just get it out there. Amanda, how are you feeling?
This is a big step for me, and Mom, if you're watching this, or Dad, or family, or grandparents, I don't know what's going to come out of this, but I feel like, I told Sam last night, I feel like it's not even my choice. It's almost like that fixed fate. Mm-hmm. It's time. Like, this is the time to come out and really talk about this, because in many ways, I feel like I've been doing a disservice to a lot of my audience previously in not incorporating this part of my story.
Yeah.
Because it can give you such a massive leg up in life when you incorporate these plant medicines, and especially when you integrate it with human design.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I think it's super exciting to talk about this.
Yeah.
Before we dive into our experiences and our integration, let's talk a little bit about what ayahuasca actually is, kind of the ceremony and what goes into all of it. So you want to talk about the plant itself?
Yes. So it's a plant. It's specifically a vine that comes from the Amazon, and now it can be grown in other places. It's sometimes grown in Hawaii and different places like that. But it's a vine and then a leaf that have been broken down in a manual process to create really a thick liquid that is ingested and has psychedelic qualities to it. Now, it's a very different substance from other psychedelics in that it is definitely done in a ceremonial space, a very strong container that is focused on positive energy. It's very much cleaning the space, ensuring that we are going into this from like a healing perspective, but also a celebration.
Music.
Yes, tons of music is involved in the process. And do you want to explain kind of let's put other people in the shoes of a ceremony. You show up, what does the space look like? How does the flow of the ceremony go?
Yeah. So I think it's different with each group, right? But each shaman or set of shamans have their own way of doing things, which also I think is really amazing, because there's different lineages of this plant medicine and different tribal lineages.
In fact, let's hit upon that real quick.
Yeah.
So this medicine really comes from the Amazon, specifically in Peru and Brazil, is kind of in that Amazon region. Now it's done in many different areas, but traditionally it is passed down from years and years, generations and generations of medicine women and men, really mostly men, actually. And women have only kind of come up more recently within specifically the ayahuasca tradition, at least in the ones that I'm familiar with. So let's just say you show up, and what does the setting look like, and then how does the ceremony unfold?
Yeah, so with my experiences and other people I've talked to, really, we've got, my experiences have been indoor. So it's in a room, and this has not been down in the jungle, so I'm not going to say more than that. It's in a room, and everyone's got kind of their setting, yoga mats, sleeping systems, mattresses. People have all different kinds of sleeping systems. And there's in a circle, everyone's head is to face the mesa, which the mesa has all sorts of charged crystals and objects, and just, it's amazing energy. And then the shamans are at the front, in front of the mesa, or I guess behind the mesa. And the ceremony usually begins with the blessing of the medicine. So the shamans go through and they bless the medicine, and each person comes up individually, says thank you, and sets an intention. And I want to talk about the intention piece of it, because the intention is everything, right? With any plant medicine, with any psychedelic, it is set and setting that is so important. So you have to make sure that whoever is holding the container, the shamans really know what they're doing and really know how to hold the container. Because when you're out, you're out, and you want to know you can trust whoever is holding that space for you.
Yes.
So setting your intention is very important, and this very much links to, for me, motivation and human design. And then essentially you take your medicine, you go back to your space, and you sit, you lie down, whatever you're comfortable doing, and most of the time you're off to the races. Not always. Sometimes it takes a while to drop into the medicine. Usually the music will kind of kick it off, but also sometimes you gotta wait for that second call and go out and take a little bit more.
Yeah, so throughout the evening, there are usually 3 different opportunities to be able to take the medicine. And so it's usually, for many traditions, done in the evening.
Yes.
With Shipibo traditions, it's like as much darkness as possible. Usually it's full darkness, but there's usually like 1 candle in the middle of the room or a couple candles to be able to have a little bit of vision of where you're going and walking. For the 𝐿 also in the middle of the night, but not necessarily full darkness. I don't think anyone can look this stuff up. But yeah, I think for us, we have our feet facing the middle. So it's a circle and the feet are forward, not the head, which is interesting. Yeah, so you're in the energy of everyone together within it. And I think we want to dive into intentions, but I think before we even dive into intentions, I want to hit the why.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do people do this? Why and I would also talking about the call to it.
Yeah, the call is something really interesting. So I'm going to just say something about the call because I was exposed to ayahuasca, and I didn't learn about it till like 2015. In the job that I was working, everyone was into ayahuasca. The owner of the company was into ayahuasca. And I was not on my, I guess I hate to say it like new agey, but my spiritual path. Like I hadn't opened myself at all yet. So I was very close to it. Like, why would anyone do this? This seems dangerous. This is ridiculous. I had so much judgment about it. But I began to open up, and meditation and different sorts of spiritual practices, and just learning to kind of connect with source, with nature, just open myself up in that way. I come from a very atheist background. I'm 12 years old, I was atheist, and I was atheist until I was about 38. So this was just not something I was interested in. But having this opening, this awakening, starting, I actually started with ketamine. And so that's a whole different ball game, but similar when I look back at the experiences.
And ketamine is big in terms of right now in the US. There's a lot of ketamine clinics around. It's one of the legal psychedelics that is happening, and there's some really powerful things that have unfolded with that medicine.
Absolutely. I have much respect for ketamine and the practitioners that use ketamine for healing. It was my first experience, and it's a nice little intro because it lasts about an hour rather than 7 hours. And so there's a little more control. I had intravenous was my first experience. So it wasn't until my 3rd experience with ketamine that I heard very clearly ayahuasca spring this was October 2020 when I'm doing this. I heard ayahuasca spring. Okay.
How much is that the voice?
Oh, it was just
the splenic voice.
That splenic voice, that inner knowing, like now it's time. And the moment you say yes to the medicine, it enters your field and it begins to work on you. So I said a definite yes in January when I signed up for my first set of ceremonies in May. And it was just, I had every doubt in the world and I was terrified, but that inner knowing was just like, no, this is what you're doing. This is your next step on your journey.
Yeah. Yeah, so they say it calls you when you're ready. And so I had the same reaction at first, like, who would do this? Like, what? What is this thing? Yeah. A lot of people, before people really understand what it is, the way that it's often described is like, oh yeah, you take this medicine and then you throw up.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're like, what the heck? And everyone's wearing white, and it feels very, for me, complete opposite background. I was not the atheist. I was raised Christian, missionary kid, like still very much resonate with it and actually feel that this has deeply connected me with God in a very different way, which we will talk about as well. But you know, the ritualistic approach to it was a little bit daunting when I first heard about it. But yeah, then it kind of starts to seep in and there's like opportunities arise and the invitation comes and you're like, wow, interesting. Like, I really do feel ready for this. The way that I described myself in journal entries before I actually did a ceremony, which my first one was back in 2019, was I feel that there's something right here underneath the surface that wants to come out. Yeah. But I can't get it to come out yet. But I know that there's something right there. Yeah. And so I went into this experience with the intention of uncovering whatever that thing was. Yeah. And so let's talk about intentions. Yes. When you go into these events, right, or these ceremonies, everyone has a different way of setting intentions. The way that I've approached it, I've tested several different intentions over the years, I'd say. Like, my first one was to embrace my femininity. Yeah. I was going through like a feminine awakening phase of like kind of beginning to awaken it. Like, I had read the book You Are a Goddess, which, my goodness, so good. Highly recommend. We will link to it in the show notes. And I was kind of moving into this space of wanting to embody that feminine. Another one was letting go of OCD tendencies. Like, I've always been a little bit anal, you know, like people could describe it that way of like, I like my things how they are, like don't mess with them, like I need it to be clean, I need to clean weekly, like all the things, right? And I wanted to kind of release that control over my life. Yeah. So this is all the first ceremony. And then as well, those were my first night ceremony intentions. The second night was what's holding me back. Yeah. Which I don't recommend as an intention. We will talk about it, but it was intense. Yeah. Yeah. So what about you? Like, give some examples of intentions that you've set throughout the years.
Yeah, it's interesting because the first few times I set an intention, so my motivation is innocence, and it was very innocence motivated, where it was just show me what I need to see. And I was very just open with, I don't have anything specific that I need to like fix or work on, even though I knew I did. What do I need to see? And that was really wonderful because I didn't have to control anything. I just opened myself up to the experience and it was beautiful. Tough, but beautiful. And then I recently just had a few ceremonies, actually, right when we started this podcast. I had just finished. And that was really tough. The first 2 nights were incredible, actually all 3. But the first 2 nights, especially the first night, I fought the medicine. And I've never fought the medicine. It's because of the way I set my intention. I set it with desire, my transferred motivation versus my motivation of innocence of, this is what I'm kind of interested in, but just take me where we need to go. I set my, now looking back, understanding my unconscious son is 4, and show me the secrets of the universe. I just want to know, I want to answer all the esoteric questions, like I just want to understand. And I mean, that's also just not a question that you really ask ayahuasca. Not for me anyway. And so I really struggled because I would start to see and get messages and then say, no, that's not what I want though. I don't want that. I want this. And so using that desire, I just struggled. I fought. I've never fought any medicine, anything. I've had experiences. And that was the first time. So that was that intention and that motivation.
Yeah. And I want to break this down a little bit because there's a lot of stigma around bad trips.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And this concept that you might lose control, you might open yourself up to things that you're not ready for and things that come in. And really the way that this container is held you know, if you really got to be cautious with who you do it with,
Yes.
what the lineage is, all the things as well. But the way that it's held, it's very much creating the safety so that you can go deep, so that you can trust and explore where the medicine wants to take you. And it has an intelligence of its own. It really is plant intelligence. It's fascinating the way that it unfolds.
Yes.
So they, you know, there's many different ways of working with it, but what sometimes happens is like you go into a room, you kind of get led into a room and you fight going into that room. But you can't help, like you have to get through that room in order to get to the next lesson, right?
Yeah.
And so if you stay and you fight and you try to control,
This is interesting.
you get stuck.
We have to talk about this.
Okay.
This is very interesting.
Let's do it. Yes, let's do it. Let's break it down.
Yeah, when you say you have to fight to get through, I feel like that's very much your struggle.
No. I don't think that you fight. I think that sometimes what happens is that you fight not wanting to go into the room.
Okay.
So it's surrender.
Yes.
The goal is to surrender
Yes.
and to be okay with what's happening and to learn to be in the present moment, breathing and listening to the music to be your guide to move through whatever is arising.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
But there's a tendency to control and fight.
Yeah, I think there is. And the more that you control, the more that you fight, the harder it tends to be. You know, and I think having many years of experience working through emotional, you know, traumas. I hate the word trauma because anything, everything, but working through emotional, my colleague says adversities, right? But just going back through my childhood and working through that, working that out of the body really helped for me personally, being able to just say okay and let go and not need to control. Because those first ceremonies, I really didn't. There were tough lessons, but it wasn't about controlling the narrative or where I was going. It was just constantly facing, what do you have to show me? Why is this so difficult? And asking those questions. It was when I held on to, no, this is what I want to get out of this. And I was like, no. When I let go, I got the message of, you are going to get all of this information. You just have to get through these things first. This is the work that has to be done to get there. I'm not just going to hand this to you.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. So they say, like, you set your intention and then you let go of all expectations around whatever the intention is that you set and allow it to lead you.
Yes.
But the reason that intentions are really important is because of integration of whatever occurs in the ceremony. So the first person that I sat with, he very specifically said, like, the ceremony is easy, technically.
Yeah.
It's not. Like, there are elements that are very challenging about it. But in comparison to integration, which is the true power of this medicine, just like human design. You can live in the mind and learn this human design knowledge, but if you don't integrate it and embody it, then it doesn't actually work. So same with human design. You have an intention. When you have that intention, then integration becomes something that it naturally unfolds because there was an intention set and it allows you to kind of connect the dots a little bit. So that's really the goal of the intention from my lens.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think that's, you know, just something to say. I know we're going to talk more about integration, but just the intention of even going into the medicine, right? There are so many people that use it to have these wild experiences, but then don't do the integration. They don't do the work. And I think that does both them and the medicine a disservice, because it is there to show you what you need. I love it. One of my friends describes it as his first session as like a free preview of what could be. You get to see all these amazing things, and then it goes away and you come back to reality and it's like, boom, insert credit card.
What do you mean?
And so, like, insert credit card for another experience.
Interesting.
You need to do the integration piece of it. So it shows you what you need, and not that there isn't integration that's happening. There's release that's happening. You're working through things. But it's taking those lessons and working through them and understanding how they fit into your life and continuing to do the work. The medicine's always with you. It's in you. You just have to continue to do the work. And I think it's a bit like human design, being in the mind. It's a bit like therapy, right? Not that I have anything against talk therapy. I have many friends that are therapists, and I think talk therapy is wonderful. You get to talk and talk it out, get your insights and your awareness. But the body holds the trauma response. The body holds the response to life, and it's based on programs. So it's really important that you embody the work, whether it's plant medicine, whether it's human design, whether it's therapy, whatever it is, you must feel it somatically.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So in preparation for this, I ended up finding some journal entries I specifically went back to my first one to kind of see, because it was in 2019, to see like what was the intention, how did I describe the experience, and then what kind of came out of it. Because it's so hard when you haven't done this work to understand, like it feels very elusive. Okay, so they haven't described anything is what someone might be thinking, right? I don't really understand what they're saying. This seems crazy. They've gone off the deep end. We're stopping this podcast. Like this is now dangerous, right? I mean, I remember, and I think might have mentioned this on the podcast, I can't remember, but when I first came out about human design, my mom called me crying and said, first the devil has a toehold, then he has a foothold, then he has a stronghold, right? And there's this concept that can come with it that a lot of society, they're beginning to awaken to this really individual fringe type thing that is now hitting the collective. Like ayahuasca, it's now an everyday, not an everyday conversation in all regards, but like Joe Rogan talks about it, Tim Ferriss talks about it, like these big leaders, Aubrey Marcus is talking about it, like there is a conversation around it that is hitting the mainstream.
Yes.
And so I think if we can ground this in some specific examples of how this unfolds, it really begins to reveal that what I think is fascinating about it is whether you feel, you know, if you're not ready for it, like this podcast is by no means us promoting ayahuasca.
No, this is experience.
It's purely sharing the experience and the value that has come out of it for us and setting a foundation, right? My one line for all future conversations of how it might integrate to give people really an awareness around it. Okay, so remember, night one intention was to let go of OCD tendencies as well as embrace the feminine. So this is coming from that lens. And this is pre-human design. Okay, like I did not know anything about human design. And this is where it's so wild, and why we are talking about this is because when I read this back, it's just like, what? How did I not? It was speaking to me still to this day. Whenever I do it, it speaks to me in human design terms. And it's like using the language and allowing me to deepen my understanding of it. And when we talk to other human design people that are embedded in this, they say the same thing. And we actually think that there's a little bit of a mutation occurring in this, almost like plant medicine further giving information about this system and allowing people to embody it at a different level. Okay, so here I go. I wasn't scared, just excited. The feeling on night one was pure love. I felt supported. I felt my intuition was all I need, and that if I could just listen to it, then no decision could ever be wrong. Like the fact that intuition and decision making were in the same sentence in my recounting of that, it's fascinating. All my little quirks.
Because you're splenic.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. All my little quirks, including OCD tendencies, were completely acceptable. I had this experience. I had thought this experience would make me want to change, but in fact, I felt accepted. There is nothing wrong with me. Right? It's like, instead of going in to like change, and same with human design, it's like, what if you were actually perfect as you are? So I went into the ceremony wearing a dress. A white dress. After the first cup, I showed up to take the second cup, leggings, a hoodie with a hat on, and my hood up. It was like the shaman laughed. He was like it was like a transformation, because I thought to embrace my feminine, I need to be in a dress. And the lesson was like, no, you are feminine. You are feminine as you are. You don't need to be a certain way.
Yes.
And so I thought that was so funny.
That's amazing.
And I was also told like the OCD tendencies was like, because you are particular, you innovate society.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to pee outside, we have toilets.
Yeah. Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like within a split second, gone. You know, like what's interesting is like it specifically told me your OCD is fine. Since then, I have been able to let go of a lot of like compulsive cleaning needs. Like there was a trap in my mind to a degree that like if the room is messy, my mind is messy. Mm-hmm. Now I have a toddler. When I was leaving this morning, I should film a video of when I get back and we can overlay it. I looked around and it's just like stuff is everywhere, constantly. Yeah. Our house is too small. The base of a house is too small for the amount of stuff that is in there. And I'm constantly throwing things away. And so it's like this lesson is such a small example of a moment in the ceremony that was like, you're perfect as you are. And it's just like,
yeah. Yeah. It gives you the inner knowing. Mm-hmm. You already know this. Mm-hmm. And it just starts to remove those layers that are like, no, but I'm judging myself. Oh, but I'm not perfect. Like it just starts, those judgments starts to go and you have the feeling, you get to embody the feeling of what it feels like to not judge yourself, to just be yourself and know that you're perfect as you are.
I felt powerful, unstoppable, but also very aware of my lack of control. I was/am not in the driver's seat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The exact language of human design. With each thought that came, I felt great clarity. But as soon as I started to think, oh, I get it, open ajna, right? Trying to prove certainty, the universe showed me another level that left me humbled. I kept saying to myself, or even hearing a voice tell me, I've got this. I'm here for you. Let go of trying to figure it out. Trust the pattern. Follow your instincts. Like all of that is so human design. It's just, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
And let's see, and I'm reading these things to really just ground people in reality. So when you're in this experience, it's a lucid experience. Yeah. You're in the room, there's parts of it where you're lost in the geometry, your body's kind of disappearing and you're seeing a lot and whatnot. But there's also times where you're just sitting there and it's more of a felt experience to a degree. And you're aware of your bodily functions and that you need to go to the bathroom or that you need to put a blanket on or whatever it is.
I think that's something really that people don't understand is how present you are through the experience. And now I have some friends that I know their experience, they get completely blasted out and they lose all sense of self and identity, but also that's part of their lesson and their journey. For the most part, and most people, at least for the majority of it, there is some sort of presence. You don't have to identify with that presence, but you're there. You do know when you have to go to the bathroom. You do know when it's time to sit up. There's a knowing as if you should take more medicine or not. I mean, it's very interesting how present you are.
Yeah, there's one moment, it's interesting rereading some of it because there's what I wrote and then there's the memory of it.
Yeah.
And there was this one moment where another thing that that I didn't even realize going into the experience is that it's a silent individual experience.
Yes, very.
Silent in that there's no talking, there's no touching anyone else in the experience, but there's music.
And there's sounds. People will make sounds.
People will make sounds.
And they will speak. But not to you.
We don't speak in mind.
No one ever says anything. The shamans will quiet it down if it happens.
Yeah.
But I've definitely been in ceremonies where people will say words out loud and
Interesting. Yeah. So there's kind of a controlled environment in that everyone is having their own experience and you don't want to interrupt someone else's experience. Yeah. And so there's this one moment in time where I was sitting by the fire, and it was a beautiful night. The stars were out. Like, it was like the perfect slight chill to enjoy the fire.
Yeah.
And I am someone that talks a lot, like open throat, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the experience of having to be silent was really like pretty profound for me, to be in communion with other people, but not talking.
Yeah.
And I was sitting around the fire, and like I was seeing one person over here that is kind of cold and she's putting her blanket on, and another guy that was like kind of struggling. Like he was like, and he was the tender of the fire. He was one of the helpers, because there's always a team of people that are there to help. Yeah. There's a lot of help and support in these circles. Yeah. And I could not help his struggle.
Yeah.
I couldn't intervene. You know what I mean? And I was just sitting there, and I like got this message, like, you are a steady rock in this moment. Like, you are rooted in a way, right? Yeah. Of like, he can struggle and it's okay. Like, he can handle this. And it was like, wow, what a tribal moment of being around the fire, and we're taking care of our needs, but separately. Yeah. And it, like, I don't know, it's like coming back to it. That's gate 19. Yeah. Right? That's my unconscious earth, feeling grounded in that moment, of in the tribe, of having sensitivity within the tribe and being able to be vulnerable within it. Yes. Like 27, wanting to nurture, right? The other side of it. Yes. But not necessarily being able to, but like trusting the space. Yeah. And obviously 28, 38 with the struggle, like recognizing the struggle, but like holding down the fort in it. Yeah. And also that it wasn't your struggle. Yeah. Your struggle was to actually just stay embodied and stay the rock. Yeah. And the next morning after these experiences, and we've given little insights, there's so much to this. I mean, it's like 2% of what we not even, we've touched like 0.5%. Yeah. But the morning after, what happens is that everyone goes, do you want to explain what happens the morning after? Go ahead. I don't know if it's the same, if our experiences are the same, but we do an integration circle. Mm-hmm. And so everyone sits and tells the highlights, because, my God, there are story after story after story. And especially when you're in it, or, you know, I mean, the medicine's still working on you, everything is profound. Everything is profound. But we tell the highlights of the stories, and then no one else speaks except for the shamans. The shamans will respond, and they will give their insights into what you're feeling, or you know, their insights into your particular journey. And then, yeah, it's just a beautiful space where you share and heal together. Yeah. And it's a collective experience. Very. Because what one person was experiencing, you might have had the physical awareness of that experience, especially with the openness that we both have in our charts, and being projectors and absorbing it. Yes. And so that integration circle is such a core part of the experience, and such an essential part. And I think it's fascinating what you share in that circle allows you to initially create a grounding of the experience to a degree, because you only have like 2 minutes or something. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it also shows you how in many ways there's common themes, right? You're sharing consciousness at that point, because the veil is down, and you're learning things, you're connecting. And it can show you, and especially like this last ceremony that I went to, the woman straight across from me, every night we had very similar experiences. And when we were walking in our everyday lives, we were very similar in our journey and where we were at and what we were struggling with and trying to let go of. So it was very interesting that watching everyone's journey and connecting with certain people, the call that people hear to your particular ceremony, they're there for a reason. It's not coincidental. And it never happens again. No. That same group of people communing in that way. And there is a bond that is definitely created with these other individuals that 100%. Continues after the fact as well. Yes. And so the lady that was sitting near me at the fire during this moment that felt very tribal for me, felt very like, you know, you are here to be a support for these individuals right now. Yes. Like, you're here, you're the rock, kind of, it's okay that they're struggling or whatever. she came up to me and was like, I just want you to know you are such a calming and grounded presence. And it was like, that reflection was just so powerful, you know, in those states.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To have that. And, you know, that's often the reverse will be true, like where you're in a really down moment and you might feel someone else's grounding presence and, and experiencing them. Okay, I have one more story. And then I want to hear your stories. Okay, you're the 1156 here. I'm just talking with my open throat too much.
This is great.
So one moment that was, I think in my, I want to say third ceremony. So the way that it works, you do, one night is a ceremony. Yeah. And usually it's 3 nights in a row.
Yep.
And the 3 nights really go together. The first night is kind of an introduction into the medicine, beginning to feel the medicine, beginning to unravel some things. Still deep, but an introduction. Saturday is usually the deep one. And Sunday is a little bit of an integration. At least that's how they usually set it up in terms of like, okay, now we're kind of wrapping, we're tying a bow on this experience and we're kind of moving forward. That's at least in theory what it's supposed to be.
In theory.
In theory, yes, exactly. So so technically this would have been, the first weekend that I did was 2 times, the second weekend that I did was 3 times, and then the third weekend was 3 times. So this was technically my 8th ceremony, right, is how they would say it. It was a daytime ceremony. Have you ever done it?
I've never done. I'm curious about it.
Yeah, it was my first daytime ceremony. And there was this, we were outside underneath trees. It was beautiful. It was a really great, like a beautiful day. And this guy picks up a flute, who usually the participants are not sharing music.
Yeah.
Right? Like usually it's just the team and there's a structure for how they go about it.
Yes.
But he just suddenly starts playing the flute, like long flute, you know, and he's going off and it's really good. Like he's really good. He's crushing it. And everyone, I mean, he's on the stage, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I found out later he's a 1222. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So he's going off, individual, freak, really like artistic
throat
expression.
To emotion, I mean.
Throat to emotion. He's playing that flute. He's playing the emotions. And this whole ceremony for me was the first Channel of Struggle ceremony. Like where I was very specifically like learning about the Channel of Struggle. Yeah. And I was told like, look at him as a freak. Like look at him as an individual and like how powerful. I didn't know he was an individual at the time.
Wow.
You know? I found out later, but it was like such a amazing experience because he inspired the entire group.
Yeah.
But he was in the melancholy of it.
Yeah.
He was in the depths and he finished playing that flute and he just walked off. Like so serious, so just like not aware of the inspiration that he just dropped on the entire group.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the individual and it was just such a profound experience of like, that's actually me. And to like recognize and own it through the experience of watching the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So projector of me.
I love it. I love it. That's really amazing. That's really amazing. And it's interesting to see and to feel someone's low of their emotional wave. To have that amplified through music. Mm-hmm. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any specific stories to like drop people in the moment of the experience, and then we can kind of also talk about the integration after that?
Yeah. So it's funny. I knew about human design. I was in my experiment in the first ceremonies. So I've done 6 total, 2 sets of 3. And I had known about human design and started with that when I had experienced the ketamine, and it never, that I understood, spoke to me in human design. And it wasn't until these last few ceremonies that I realized it has been speaking to me in human design, and that it really did speak to me in human design, where I had this understanding of, oh, this is what's going on. And it's so interesting because always, say always, there's probably some things in there that weren't, but the majority of what I remember, what I take with me, because it's funny, I don't journal. I don't journal a thing. I have my memories, and that's what I stick with. Sometimes things will pop up where I'm like, oh yeah, that was part of my journey. Okay, now I'll deal with that. But I don't journal a thing. So when you were reading your journal, you had texted me that, and I was like, well, and then I was like, Jesus, should I have been journaling? So I told my husband that, and he was like, no. He's like, that's just not you. He goes, you remember things. Yeah,
you have
true.
a defined ajna.
Yes. And that 1156 was just the emotional memory.
Yes.
And he said to me, he goes, you know, and sometimes when you're telling the story of something, it may not be exactly what happened. It's how you remember it. And that's really what's important. And if you go back and read that journal, it may skew how you remember something, and then you have to fight what is the actual truth. And it's funny because it's exactly how I am. I don't want to know what the actual truth was. I want to know my memory of the truth and what I take with me.
Which is that certainty of the ajna in a way. Like you have to be certain about what happened. For me, it's the 33, the unconscious son that wants to reflect, which I had a whole ceremony on that, but we're going to put a pin in that. Like the lesson of to remember, I went into the ceremony of to remember, it was write it down.
Yeah.
Write it down. Document. If you document, you remember, right? Which is
which is what you do with video. I mean, that's what you do is you document life. So it makes sense. It makes sense. And I think most people probably should journal. I probably should journal some things, but I'm never called to do it, so I don't.
Exactly. It's your thing.
So
how you are.
What I will be talking about was just from my memory. So it's interesting that in the ceremonies, these last three really hit hard, that it was the design side of me. It's what I'm not consciously aware of. And it's all the body feeling. So I get lots of visuals. Some people don't get visuals. Some people it's all in the body. I get lots of visuals and body. I get both. Like it's just hammering it into me that this is what's going on. So it was very interesting because I think my unconscious four, you know, where I want to understand things that aren't meant to be understood. That and then the transformation of desire, that was actually the lesson was first let go, because you don't get to control this. There is no wanting for anything. You can set your intention, but you don't get to control the way it unfolds. So that was a big lesson, very big lesson. And then the four, which I just really wanted to know, these thoughts that I have, you know, I'm looking at human design and the amino acids and looking at frequencies and all these things that are so esoteric out there. They're, you know, fringe science, but there's a lot of quantum science to it. I want to know, how do all these things go together? And this is sometimes the unknowable, or maybe I'm not meant to know that. Maybe that's not part of my path, but that's what I wanted to know. And that's what I'm clinging on to. And that kicked my ass. So that was a huge lesson and a wonderful lesson with that four, that it's okay. My unconscious son, I learned it's okay to have these questions and go out and explore these realms and these ideas. However, stay on this plane. Stay here and stay embodied and, you know, blend the whole design together. But stay here and it will come to you. Continue the work here and these things will naturally come to you, because this is where your body sits, is in this four line. So that was really interesting.
Yes, so good. And like pulling that into everyday life of the experience of, like, this is kind of where the integration part kind of comes in, is like, okay, you have a four line, you want to understand. You also have 64 and 61 hanging, right? So there's lots of like potential to connect there in the head, which is always looking for answers, answering everyone else's questions and everything. So it's like, okay, I don't have to understand.
Yes. It was such a relief when it was just like, it will come to you. Stop seeking, it will come to you. It was like, oh, okay. I can focus on the things that I do splendidly feel called to focus on, and the rest of those things will come. So that was really a beautiful experience. I'd say the end of that night, my 49 came through because I was fighting. And then some G center came through, right? Like I'm completely open G. And I have clung to an identity my entire life. This is who I am. This is how I get through life. And this is how I move through life. And I very clearly heard I need to let this go. Completely let all attachment go. There is no attachment for you. Let go. That was big. And once I could kind of start to let that go and understand that the 49, which grounds me, my unconscious earth, the 49 came through very strongly, which was revolution. And that things are changing in this world. I mean, here we are on a podcast talking about ayahuasca and human design. And hopefully people are listening.
But share your comments below.
But you know, I mean, we're able to talk about these things. The world is shifting. There are energetic things happening. And part of this revolution, I mean, people who have this 49, this is part of the revolution. This is part of this change. And that came through very clearly, that I could actually feel comfortable and grounded in knowing that I'm going to walk through life as an individual freak sometimes and help revolutionize, help change, and usher in these new things that are coming through. So I hear myself speak and it just sounds so new age. I hate it.
No, but that's the thing that's interesting. I mean, the 4323 is speaking, right? And your 1156 being unconscious, right? Like we just both dove into the rave psychology. They talked a lot about the unconscious side and how it is the source of a lot of conflict, inner conflict within us, right? Of not understanding it and whatnot.
Hugely.
But 4323, you're aware of that. It speaks like a freak, you know? Yeah. And that, I think, like, once again, coming back to that guy that I saw play the flute, it was just the full embodiment of being individual, inspiring others, and the lack of awareness around your power. Yeah. He was completely unaware of the power that he held in that moment. Right? Yeah. It was like he was in the disempowered version, even though he was, in many ways, being led. His body was empowered. Like, it'd be interesting to see if it was unconscious in his chart or not, right? Yeah. But his body was empowered. It was doing this thing. It was magical. It was inspiring the group. And that the inner mental chatter is, I'm a freak. Yes. I need to be alone. Yes, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. I don't fit in. I don't fit in. Yeah, all the things. Yeah. Just repeating what you say. Yeah. It's really fascinating. And it was so fascinating post the integration piece of it. I think that's also part of me why I don't journal or document anything. And I should go back and talk about these things in some ways. But the reason that I don't do that is because what needs to integrate is going to stick with me. And all the rest of it is just experiences, or it will come back again. It'll find me another way. What sticks with me is what I need to integrate. And so those experiences are really, you know, what I remember. So it's huge that I could embody my unconscious sun and my earth and my north node. I had no idea. So it wasn't until, you know, my north node is in 56 and and they're all line 6s. Yeah, yes, and it's a line 6. Yeah. So my north node, where I was always paying attention to the 62-4 and the 61-4, my north and south node personality, because those were what I identified with. Mm-hmm. You know, when you listen to Ra, he says those are actually your limitations. So that's something I'm exploring more now and kind of trying to understand a little bit. But I had never really looked at the design side, because I think that's what people a lot of times do in human design is, oh, I identify with the personality side. So, oh yeah, this is me, this is me, this is me.
but we don't have awareness of that design side. And what ayahuasca was doing for me was giving me that bodily awareness so that I can actually embody and understand when my mind and my body are fighting, when my personality side and my body are wanting two different things. It helps with my 3-6, right? My three just wants to be out there. That's my personality. It's the material plane. It's all, but my 6 is like, well, hold on, you're on the rooftop right now. And so it's this kind of struggle. And I have to, when I feel like being out of society and I'm like, I don't want to be doing this right now, and my body won't move, that's where I have to like step back in, because I have the awareness now that my body is actually the one I need to be listening to. It's my 6th line. So when it says, back off, back off. So my 56, my North Node, in reading about this, and I'll get back to the ayahuasca piece, how this all integrates, but in reading the hexagram for 6, that's another thing I think that we miss in human design, is we read the lines, which I think are beautiful, but there's imagery within the hexagrams. When you go back and read the 𝐸 and the imagery of the 56 is fire over mountain. It is the stillness within and the fire without. It is maintaining quiet and stillness. And that's where I'm headed. I didn't understand this until ayahuasca and looking back at my experience. So this is the integration piece now that I'm currently working on. During my first set of ceremonies, the second night was this message of turn your light on. What the hell does turn your light on mean? My hands would begin to contort and get tight, and my whole body would get really tight. Okay, and then I'd hear, turn your light on. What the hell does turn your light on mean? And in my imagery, I just saw a crystal and the light goes bright and my body relaxes. And I'm like, oh, eventually I catch on. Oh, this is the nervous system. Oh, this is the nervous system. I have to control my nervous system. I need to regulate my nervous system. So I've vomited once. I've purged once in my 6 ceremonies. And it's an upper purge, not a bottom purge. Both happen, and sometimes simultaneously. But
very rarely.
Yes,
it does.
But just once. And I learned in the ceremony, so when I'm working with clients, oftentimes I will yawn. There'll be extra energy. My regulation is to yawn and to remove the energy. And so in ceremony, I yawn a lot. That second night, okay, well, I'm going to try and yawn. I begin to contort. I'm going to yawn. No, you can't yawn. Okay, well, I'm going to vomit. No, you can't vomit. Well, I'm going to run to the bathroom and I'm going to purge through the bottom. No, you can't do that either. What do I do? Turn your light on. There's no special mechanisms. There's no neuro-emotional technique. There's no quantum deconditioning. There's none of it. You have to do this by yourself. Awareness that your body is tight. Relax. Be the mountain, the stillness within. So that was a beautiful lesson. In that lesson, my 28 hanging, 28-6 came crashing in on me. And I, at one point said, I can't do this. I'm turning my light on tight, tight, They only got to second call. This is maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours in, and I've been doing this whole time. I'm like, kill me. And that's the 28-6. So
Yep.
The 28-6 says, burn it all down. I don't know when this suffering is going to end, so I'd rather just die.
It's got suicide in it.
Yes. So kill me. Kill me. I'm done. Take me. I'm over this. I wouldn't die. I start getting really pissed.
Yeah.
I said, kill me. And then I realized that's how I've been feeling. I had been saying, because I was working 60, 80-hour weeks at the time. This is killing me. This life is killing me. So those words start coming through very clearly. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm killing myself. I'm causing my own suffering. I need to make some changes. and I need to recognize when my body is tight, that the fire is burning and I'm not the mountain within. And then that came through on my, we'll switch over. I know this is a long story.
No, it's great. I love it.
So it came through in my second set of ceremonies that the third night was very much that same, it wasn't the same contorting, but it was a tenseness where I just could let go. And there's no visual, there's nothing with it. It was just, oh, let go. You're tense, you're tight. And so I could let that go. So ayahuasca was teaching me my north node. I didn't realize it until I really got that imagery of fire over mountain. But it was very interesting to really feel what it's like to embody where I'm headed. And those lessons have stuck with me. So, and it's not easy. I mean, that's the integration part that's so difficult. Because I have to recognize, I have to raise the awareness of when I am fire on the inside and not on the outside, when I've lost my stillness, and find a way to regulate that.
That's beautiful. And I think it gives a very amazing description of the 𝐸ₐ really.
Yeah.
I haven't dove into it at that level in terms of like specifically looking at the structure of it. Yeah. I think, and I could be wrong, I think 33 is lake over lake. And I'm not totally sure on that, but I'd have to look it up. Yeah, I mean, I think it is fascinating because it's like, I see the red parts of our chart, the design side of our chart, as being, with human design, it allows you to have a light switch turned on in your blind spots. And when you add the experience of ayahuasca specifically on top of that to then show you, it gives even more of an embodied experience and an ability to tap into something that has been there your entire life, running the show behind the scenes, but you weren't aware of it. So for me, it's really fascinating, and this is one of the reasons why, you know, there's definitely like a fractal connection, soul connection between us that led us here to doing this. Like my last ceremony, I went in with the intention to remember. I had set a number of times to the point where I wasn't going in looking for more, right? And you get to this point with medicine work where it's the plant teacher, not the plant medicine. And I was going in, just remind me, help me remember the lessons that I've previously learned. And things that I've forgotten that I should be pulling to the surface and integrating. I don't need more. There's so much. There's such a depth to everything. And I'm still integrating so many. You will for a lifetime be integrating these ceremonies, which is one of the reasons why when people do it back to back to back to back, they're losing a little bit of the power of it to a degree, depending on their intention.
I think they're losing a lot of the power of it because integration takes time.
It takes a lot of time.
The magic of the medicine is not the ceremony. I mean, trust me, that's magical and amazing. But the magic of it is not during the ceremony. It is after the ceremony, and it's how you implement it and how it helps you change your life, not to just go back to live in the same life and then you get your free preview and, oh, wow, this is amazing, I'm a different person. No, it is that integration. It's the time and the space between.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And when you leave one, you don't know when you're going to come back.
Except
when you get called.
When you get a message the third day that says, specifically when fall this year, I'm supposed to come back. Or it's actually spring this year. I'm supposed to come back.
Wow.
I don't know if I'm going to. That's the interesting thing. But it was a very clear message.
Fascinating. Okay, we will discuss that. So with 33, it's interesting. I went into the ceremony and I almost wish that I had these notes. I have actually, what's really amazing about it is I recorded every single intention, the integration circle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I asked for permission to do that. And so I have them recorded of what I shared. And it's so cool to tap back in with. And like giving myself permission to break the rules in a way, to be able to capture or document this side, because you're not supposed to have your phone.
Yeah,
right. So like, I'm like, hit record. All right. It's right here. Right. Stop record. Like they know, you know, but like, yeah, in that process. And it's so interesting how much of it was like record, document, 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 document. And since that moment, since doing that, which was, I believe, last July, documentation, I have become more and more aware. I have the opposite of you. So many journals.
Yeah. Wow.
So many journals. I have so many video files. I just recently bought a hard drive that's 44 terabytes. Okay, that's a lot.
Yes,
it's like this big on my desk, like huge. And I'm taking all of my external hard drives and I'm copying them into it.
Yeah.
And as I do, it's a reflection.
Yeah.
It's 33. Remember this experience. It like puts me straight back in that moment to reflect upon the experience and to kind of draw some conclusions about it.
But that ends the experience for you, or that creates that cellular memory.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. No, it totally does.
It's really cool.
And it's like I took 4 months off, right, of YouTube to really kind of start this process, and then going back and rereading some of these journals and like looking at it, it's like, wow, like I can't believe how much resonates with it. Like, and how real it is, how it just gets me straight back into that moment. Yeah. Immediately. And when the first night in this intention to remember, I sit there and I'm like, all right, show me my childhood. I'm like, let's relive my childhood. It's like, nope, we're not going there. I was like, okay, let it go, right? Like, you're not going to relive your childhood. You don't need to relive your childhood. It went to gate 47.
Wow.
Which is up in the head, right? So the opposite of 4, which I have 4 as well, but I'm conscious of 47. So 47 is my Venus, my values, right? Like I really value this. And it showed me how 47 was hijacking everything in my chart.
Interesting. See, personality side.
Personality.
Yeah.
Yeah. 47, just like you, because they're both collective. Yeah. This is experiential collective. And I literally just this second connected a couple of dots. This is really interesting how that happens, right?
I love that. Yeah.
So 47, it was like, you are not here to understand. You are not here to understand. You are not collective. Yeah. I am not collective. You can't necessarily say that. You know?
Yeah, no, I definitely have lots of collective.
I have lots of collective, like hanging gates.
Yeah.
But none. That are, confirmed. You have 2. Yeah. And so it was an immediate freedom of you do not need to understand your past. And so every single day I have a reminder that pops up on my phone that says you don't have to understand the past.
Wow.
And what's interesting is when I am tied to 47 and needing to understand, my 33 operates differently.
Interesting.
It's not operating in innocence.
Yeah.
It's operating in trying to understand the past.
Yes. I want to know what this means.
I want to know. I want to make sense of this. I want to go through. I want to analyze. I want to pull out stories, right? All this stuff. Yeah. And it was like, you do not need to understand. And it was just, like since then, I used to kind of write off the question for the open head or the question for the ajna, like, are you trying to prove that you're certain? Are you trying to solve other people's questions? Like in my readings, I'd be like, these are kind of hard to tap into. Like, pick what you think is resonant, but like I highly suggest leaning into, do I think I have something to prove, or do I know when enough is enough? Like it was much more like in the body.
Yeah.
And so
interesting.
Yeah. When I connected those dots, it was like, wow, like this is such a powerful thing to shutting off the mind. It was like, that is, it shows up in my relationships. It shows up in the way that the placement in Venus, it's also a profit potential. 47 line 3 being in an open center, right? And so I think a lot of what I do is helping people clear the confusion and gain clarity on their past.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Realizing the gate of realization.
Yeah.
And the dot that I just connected is that my very first ceremony, or sorry, my second ceremony, which was very hard, and in writing about it, I stopped. I couldn't. Like you say, I don't journal about it. It's hard to journal about these things.
Yeah.
Like there is a resistance, but there's also such a value to doing it and to getting through it.
Yeah.
It's like my channel of struggle is like, I got to do this. But this moment, like I kind of stopped. But the way that I describe it is ... I'm writing this at 11:08 p.m. after recounting like my ceremony. Yeah. So I need to get to bed. It freaks me out even recounting it. I'll fill in the gaps later, but ultimately night 2 was a physical, emotional, and mental representation of the extreme confusion I've been feeling in my career.
Oh, wow.
Confusion is gate 64.
Yeah.
So when I did that or whatever it was, this last ceremony with the intention to remember, and then gate 47 comes up, that weekend I integrated one of the hardest ceremonies that I've had, where it really shook me. It like created a lot of rift, and specifically the intention was what's holding me back.
Yeah.
And so I was able to connect the dots that the thing that's holding me back is needing to understand the past. And what I really need to be doing is living in the moment and the magic of the moment, and knowing that whatever's around the corner, the struggle that's around the corner, I don't have to anticipate it because I have it within my body to handle it when it comes.
Yes. It's so funny because I think that ultimately on this earth, this plane, to me, the nervous system is everything. It's what runs this vehicle. It is the regulation. So if you're living, there's that saying, if you're living too much in the past, there's depression. If you're living too much in the future, there's anxiety, right? And those head centers anticipating the future. I think the melancholy is the depression piece of it, those individual centers. And then if you're living in the moment, you're content, if you're present. And I think that for an overarching theme for many people with ayahuasca is learning to be in that present moment. But to be in that present moment, you have to have a nervous system regulation, right? Or that does regulate your nervous system being able to be in the present moment. So it's so fascinating. Those have been my overarching, themes as well, is learning that regulation, learning to be in the present moment, because nothing else matters. The past is done. The future can't be predicted. It's right now. And what can you do in this moment right now?
Which I can genuinely say, I don't know that I could have hit the ability to live in the present without this work.
Yeah.
Because for me, the present, in order to be okay with living in and this was something that came out of my last ceremony, I have to be, like I've always heard, live in the present moment, and it described as this beautiful thing that you should be loving the present moment. Well, I felt the present moment was boring. I felt the present moment was, which is individual, right? Like thinking everything's boring because nothing's happening right now. I felt it was uncomfortable because sometimes there's pain in the present moment, right? And you want to get out of the present moment. And so I had this moment, once again, where the channel of struggle comes up, and it was like really intense. It was night 2. It was first cup, I want to say. I went deep this last time, where it was like straight away, just like, and what the way that it's set up too is there's possibility for help throughout it. Which was one of my very first lessons, was asking for help and learning to be okay asking for help, right? And now I'm like, crawl it. So what they do and the one that I sit with is there's mats on the sheepskin basically, and you can crawl up to the sheepskin if you are feeling like you can't work through something. Yeah. So like you turn the light on. I'm whatever. I don't know how to turn the light on. Like you get this point where you're like, why can't I get through this? Yes. And you need external support to kind of be able to move through it, you know, in some ways. Yeah. And so I was at this point where it was just a struggle. Yeah. And I was sitting outside by the fire. It was a beautiful night once again. And there was someone out there as well. And, you know, they were talking to me. I had just did a walking purge. The room was intense. I have a lot of open centers. Yeah. Right? So like I can take in a lot of energy and whatnot. I was feeling a lot. I went out. I was like, I need to get outside. I need to kind of ground myself. I need whatnot. Yeah. As I walk outside, it's like, I like put my bucket down and the girl that's like walking me out, because I guess, I can't remember why she was walking me out, but like, I guess I asked for help. Oh, maybe? I don't even know. Anyway, so I'm like walking out and I purge, and then we get outside and someone says, how can it be easy? Oh, wow. And I said, I would actually be able to sit here and enjoy this fire and enjoy the stars. But for whatever reason, I can't. And it was like, why can't I freaking enjoy this? Yeah. Like, what's wrong with me that I can't enjoy this moment? And it was like this deep, just like, I can't move through it, you know? And so then I ended up going to get help or whatever. Yeah. And like, you know, it's always like blurred looking back at it, but there was like, that was night 2, and night 3 helped me really integrate it, which actually was, I think, as well as a daytime ceremony. I was literally outside like punching, like channel of struggle, like doing it, fighting. It was fun. And it was like, can you believe, oh, that's what it was. After I got to this moment in time, and we'll start to wrap here soon, but I got to this moment in time where I looked in the mirror and I had overcome whatever the struggle was that I was facing. Yeah. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, what if that was your last struggle? Can you believe it? Yeah. And it was like, I don't know if I can believe it. And so the whole rest of that weekend, from night 2, or cup 2 on night 2, through the rest of the weekend, was embodying the ability to believe that the moment has magic. Yeah. And it was specifically focus on breath, focus on music. If you're going through struggle, breathe, listen to the music. It will guide you through. Yeah. And I was able to release it. And now I am so present. Yeah. Okay, I want to read this one last thing, and then we'll start to wrap. Okay, I have one more thing. And then one more thing. Yes. So this was really cool to read, and I think it's interesting because this was in 2019. Yeah. So my body has already been aware of this. The ceremony I'm currently talking about was 2022. Yeah. 2023, actually. Yeah. This is what you talk about. Okay, like being in the present moment, feeling it. So this is November 30th, 2019, and it has to do with the bladder, which is always a big part of my lesson in ceremonies, is like being okay with having to go to the bathroom and whatnot. Yeah. I'm grateful for my bladder and the control I have over it. It's an interesting feeling to describe. It's a subtle pressure that wants to be relieved, but really it's only because we are taught that. It's interesting to think about all the feelings that we are programmed to recognize. A full bladder, a hungry stomach, an aching neck, tired eyes, etc. My ears just popped from landing. I was on a plane typing this. Probably on my phone. My breath has been shorter. I'm aware of that and elongating it. My stomach is being held in, something that I've grown accustomed to doing. I wonder how that impacts my digestion. Contracting everything and not giving it space to work. My foot is tapping, another tick that I automatically do. I've been doing it for years. My fingers are gliding across the keyboard as I type. I remember learning to text T9. I remember T9. And having races with my siblings to see who could do it faster. It's amazing how present I am in this moment. I'm successfully out of my head. My ears hear lots of noises, the sound of the airplane humming, the AC rushing through, kids cooing nearby, faint talking that is indistinguishable, a baby crying, my feet on the ground, heavy on the floor beneath my seat. Can I let my stomach relax? Can I allow my bladder to be full and have it be okay without the urgency to rush to the bathroom? How long could I hold it? Like getting into that present moment and tuning into like what's happening right now, and this is okay.
The body signals.
Yeah,
Your body's always speaking to you. Always speaking to you.
Yeah, and if you can just tune in.
We ignore it. Yes, yes. I just, going back to the, you know, the nervous system regulation piece of it, one of the things that happened to me, because I had set the intention, I lost my joy. And I had been dealing with a lot of depression, and I didn't even realize how depressed I was. Just life changes, all these, nothing, well, anyway, just depression, and I didn't realize. And the second night of my last ceremony, I had an amazing night, amazing night. You know, sometimes in ayahuasca you get a new body, and you get like, you know, all these different things that had changed, that I could feel changing within me. And I sat up, and I was watching, they do the arcanas, and the shamans bless, everybody gets their own individual blessing in the ceremony that I go to, and beautiful, really beautiful. I'm watching, I get my blessing. This is amazing, it feels so great. And I'm watching, I'm like, I'm just gonna watch the rest. So everything, it's very low light, you can only make out a few things, but I'm like, this is such a beautiful moment. And I get this wave that washes over me that says, well, this was all bullshit. None of this is real. You wasted your time, your money, your energy. There's nothing. You are going to be like this forever. And I'm realizing, and we'll talk about, do a session on the melancholy, but, you know, my 60 and my 55, I know I'm 50% populations, I know I'm being activated emotionally. And my 60, and I think the pulse was off when I went into it, and I could feel it. My pulse was off. And there was this wave of, you're stuck. This is just how it's going to be forever. Don't believe any of this. And the emptiness that came with it. I was just like, oh my God. I went to bed depressed, sad, upset. I was just like, well, okay, none of this happened. None of this is real. I didn't learn anything, and now I have to go do another ceremony tomorrow. I might just leave. Eventually I didn't, and I set that intention the last night to teach me how to trust. And again, that comes back to that present moment and that nervous system regulation. When I'm present, I can trust because I can feel my body and know what's right for me, where I need to go, what I need to do. But the moment that fire gets out of control and I lose that stillness, it's depression or anxiety, and I can't make the right decisions. And then life becomes really hard. So I just wanted to throw that piece in there with the...
So good. Yeah. Okay, so we could keep going and going and going, but we have to get out of here. We have to wrap this episode. We are so grateful for the opportunity to bring this out into the world. Even in this moment, I feel like there's so much more to share. There's so much that I haven't covered that I worry people will put labels on this or look at this in a certain way and not get the full value that we're trying to share here, and really how there's a greater picture here. There's something greater that's unfolding, and how it unfolds and everything like that. And personally, I think it's so directly connected to God, but we'll have to save that for another episode. So is there any final thoughts that you have before we wrap?
No, I just, the whether it's ayahuasca, ketamine, mushrooms, any sort of psychedelic, any sort of plant medicine, or hypnosis therapy, if it's just understanding embodying human design, I just want to stress the importance of getting into the body, of feeling things somatically. So if you can't put yourself out there to do some sort of plant medicine, not everybody should, not everybody can. That's not what the point of this really is. The point is that it helped us embody. But find a way, whatever works for you, to embody and somatically work through so that you can have clarity and be able to sit in the present moment.
Thanks for watching this. And if you watched all the way to the end, definitely comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and be in community with you. And if you want to watch another episode, then you can watch some of the ones on the screen here. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video.